All right, guys. How's it going? And welcome to the GSMC Hockey Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Podcasting Network. We have a great show for you guys today where we start by breaking down last night's games. The first being the Boston Bruins versus the Florida Panthers. Our second segment then will be talking about the Oilers and how they were able to tie up the series with a last-second goal in that third period against the Canucks. Our third segment tonight will be me breaking down. Not breaking down Sunday night's actions. I did not update that in my notes. It'll be about me talking about the second round so far and how my predictions are doing so far. And then we'll be talking about who I believe to be the Conn Smythe winner on each team so far. And make sure you guys stick around for later in the show where I will be giving you my preview on the matchup between the Avs Stars that is happening right now. I believe that game is at 1-1 in the second period. So looking to be a good game. The Avalanche are going to need that one. But before we start with all of that, I would like to ask that you guys like and follow the show. We get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show. So to ensure that your question gets read live on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donations link that you guys see on the screen right now at gsmcpodcast.net. With any of your questions. This puts your question at the top of the list so that I see it, and it also really helps the show. Again, the link is, as you see on the screen here, gsmcpodcast.net. And without further ado, we're going to get right into the first segment tonight here, where we're going to be talking about the Boston Bruins versus the Florida Panthers. This game really boils down to Jeremy Swayman, the guy you see on the left of your screen here for the visual viewers. For our audio viewers, Jeremy Swayman is the Boston Bruins goaltender. He has been tremendous for this entire playoffs, and you really expect it from him. A little bit of a look into my fourth segment here. I believe Jeremy Swayman has been by far the best player for the Boston Bruins. He's absolutely clinical in front of the goal, only giving up one goal in this game, stealing this one absolutely when their offense wasn't able to produce as much as you want their offense to be able to produce. You got Jeremy Swayman to steal this one 2-1. He's been amazing. He has a 2.16 goals against average now, one of the highest save percentage in the playoffs, and that would be the highest goals against average for a consistent starter in the playoffs so far, over Igor Shesterkin, over Jake Oettinger, these goalies that have been absolutely stellar. The Boston Bruins are getting very, very good production out of their number one goaltender, Jeremy Swayman. They haven't even had a chance at going to Linus Ullmark here because Jeremy Swayman has stolen a lot. It was looking a little bit rough in Game 2 and Game 3 for the Boston Bruins when you see Jeremy Swayman give up 4 goals. He then gets pulled, and then he goes back and gives up 5 goals in the Game 3. But ever since then, he's been spectacular. This forces a Game 6 in Boston. The Bruins make the series 3-2 now. We see it in the Rangers Hurricane series, and we're seeing it probably tonight in the Avs Stars series. Teams have difficulty closing games out. It's very, very hard to win that fourth game of the series. It is the hardest game to win in all of hockey. Is a game. Is that fourth win in a series. It's probably the same in any sport, really, that has 7-game series in baseball and in basketball as well. It's very difficult, and you're seeing that with the Florida Panthers here, not being able to close out the Boston Bruins. A little bit of a game breakdown for those of you that were not able to tune into this one. Morgan Geekie was the one that opened the score. This is his 4th goal of the playoffs, I believe. He's been very impressive, that third line forward for the Boston Bruins. I believe he's playing on in the top 6 right now because he's been very in form and playing very, very well. This goal specifically was insane. It was so impressive. It was a forehand-backhand sweep across Bobrovsky's crease, and he found the far side of the net. He's like, he gets the puck on the weak side of the goal, on his backhand side, to the right of the goal. He gets it from Jake DeBrusk, sends a little bit backhand, shows to Bobrovsky, comes back on the forehand, whips it in on the far side. It was such an impressive goal. Very, 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 very pretty. is how I would describe that one. And that's just something. It's a shock to see a guy like Morgan Geekie do that, but it's not a shock to see the Boston Bruins get something like that from a depth piece. That's been the Bruins kind of, been their motto, been their attitude for like four years now, I would say, ever since, maybe 5 years, ever since that 2019 series. It's really been about kind of depth piece, that rolling 4 lines deep, and you're getting, of course, you have that superstar in David Pastrnak. Of course, you have that horse on the blue line like in the Charlie McAvoy, and you got Jake DeBrusk, and you have these great pieces. But really, when it comes down to it, and when it comes down to these deep games in the playoffs, they're getting production. This is 2 goals in these playoffs from kind of depth forwards, and then Charlie McAvoy gets the goal, but the third line was the one that contributed on that goal. And that's really what you love to see if you're the Boston Bruins. Sorry. And that's what you want to see if you're the Boston Bruins, is getting that depth scoring, getting production out of your depth. That's been their MO, of course. That is what I said. And the Panthers have been really playing a lot in their top 6 here. When it's not Matthew Tkachuk, when it's not Alexander Barkov, they've kind of lacked that scoring. As you saw in this game, the Panthers were able to equalize this game at 1 apiece. I believe it was about early into the second that they were able to do so. It's Reinhart with his 5th in the postseason. It was an unbelievable shot from like the mid slot, if I'm not mistaken, and that beats Jeremy Swayman, and that's what does beat Jeremy Swayman, of course, is a great shot. It's a hard one for him to stop. He was unbelievable. Absolutely stole this one. The Panthers played very well in the second period and played pretty well in the third period. The first period was a little lackadaisical by them. So Jeremy Swayman able to stop a lot of difficult shots here, and that propelled them to. It was Charlie McAvoy that scores the third goal of this game for the Bruins to win 2-1. It's an unbelievable team goal for him. It's Frederick to Charlie Coyle to Charlie McAvoy, who gets this shot. It was like 2 backhand pass and then a backhand pass to Charlie McAvoy, and then he's just everybody's on the right side of the ice of the offensive zone, and there's just Charlie McAvoy going against the grain, kind of coming down the left dot, and he is able to shoot it with absolutely a clear look, and Sergei Bobrovsky is hard done by that play. It looked very pretty. That's what you want to see in the playoffs when you're a team like Boston, when you play a lot of like team looking games here. But yeah, when it comes down to the Boston Bruins, they've been unbelievable in these playoffs. They've been unbelievable in the regular season for many years, because they're getting this contribution from their depth, because it's not just David Pastrnak who's called upon. It's David Pastrnak, it's Brad Marchand in the top, and then you got contribution. And then you got contribution from guys like Morgan Geekie, Charlie Coyle, in this one, Charlie McAvoy, and Jake DeBrusk, and that's really what you want to see when you are, if you're a Boston Bruins fan, or if you are someone who doesn't want to see the Panthers get to the Eastern Conference Final as easily as it kind of looked like they were going to be. It looked like they were going to need 5 games, and I thought that for a while that they were going to need 5 games. That was my original prediction for this series. I thought that they were way better than the Boston Bruins, as I thought that the Rangers and the Panthers kind of were a step above anybody else. But Boston kind of showing that, hey, let's hold the brakes on that talk here. We're not done with this one. We have the team needed to come back from a 3-1 deficit. I mean, any team that are still in these playoffs can come back from 3-1. Any of the 8 teams, if they're facing that deficit. This is the talent level that is in the NHL right now. You have you have consistent play from a lot of top guys, and you really saw it in this one from the Boston Bruins, who were able to warn off elimination here. For the remainder of the last two games, it is very important to note that the Boston Bruins are getting that Game 6 in Boston. So you have momentum from this Game 5. Then you're getting a Game 6 in Boston. It's going to be interesting to see if they can make this comeback, to make this 3-1 comeback, as the Florida Panthers did to them last year. It was in the second round. They matched up, and the Florida Panthers came back from a 3-1 series deficit to beat the Boston Bruins. And is history going to repeat itself, kind of switch, though, this time? It's going to be interesting to see, because this Florida Panthers team belongs in the Eastern Conference Final. They're really good. Their top 9 is unbelievable, and they're getting production from these guys. But you're looking at this Boston Bruins team, and you're looking at a guy like Brad Marchand. If you're looking at David Pastrnak, who isn't scoring. This is another game where you're not getting production out of David Pastrnak, but it's still his team. It's still really, he can change a game at any moment. He could steal them one, kind of like Jeremy Swayman stealing them. And then that's a goaltender that belongs in a conference final, really belongs maybe even in a Stanley Cup final. This performance, you could probably say that a lot about maybe 4 goaltenders that are playing right now. I know Eager maybe deserves this. Bob might deserve a conference final. And then, of course, Jake Andre on the west side deserves this. Maybe even Artur Shilovs. Artur Shilovs is playing very good hockey. We're going to talk about that in the next segment. He looked like he was about to steal that game in Edmonton. But yeah, the Boston Bruins are going to just need more from their depth, and then Pastrnak needs to score. Pastrnak needs to get on the score sheet somehow, some way. Or he's going to need to start saying his team up. He's going to need to start playing a lot more team hockey, team-oriented hockey, maybe even on the power play. This series is being decided 5-on-5. It's not a lot of special teams goals that are going in. Both teams are very great on the penalty kill, very great defensive teams here. So in this one, it's hard to believe that the Boston Bruins are going to win 3 games in a row. It's not that hard to believe that, hey, maybe Jeremy Swayman steals one game and Pastrnak wins you that other game, and bang, there it is. So from this point on, it's going to be interesting. This was a very important game for the Boston Bruins to win, not only because they're warning off elimination, but if they were going to win a game, it's got to be like this. It's got to be low scoring. Jeremy Swayman has to steal one, and you still aren't getting production out of your big guys, and you assume that that's going to turn around on them. It's going to be interesting to see how Boston seemed very confident going into the rest of the series, so it's going to be interesting to see how they play more going down the stretch, and more when it is Game 6 and then in Game 7 if it makes it there. So that'll wrap it up for our first segment. When I come back, we'll be talking about the second game of last night, the Oilers-Canucks game, and that had a wild ending, and I cannot wait to talk about that one.